name is Jon Pontrello, and I am a guitar teacher from Seattle, Washington. And today I'm going to be talking about using bass notes with your chords, and basically going beyond just using the root. I think that's kind of a way most people learn using the root note, and the root note serves an important purpose. It establishes the chord. But to, I guess, add some harmonic dynamics, that's kind of what I think about it. You know, if you're playing every single chord in the same shape, like an example of something that's not very dynamic, you know, you're using the same chord shape everywhere that you go. But if you change different chord shapes in different places, it really opens up a lot of doors. So hopefully this is something you're familiar with. If you're not, you know, using different inversions. So like this is an A shape, this is an E shape, this is a C shape or a D shape, same thing, just depends how you want to look at it. But this is something that hopefully you are familiar with. If you're not, learn about the caged system. Scott Paul Johnson has a really awesome video on this. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go watch it. But this is kind of building on the idea of the caged system, using different chords, you know, different shapes up and down. Basically, there's like the, you know, the C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. So if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, you're going to get a lot more out of this lesson if you do some research on that. It's just guitar caged. Okay, but you'll still learn something from this even if you don't, because we're going to be talking about how to use bass notes. So, like I said, usually people are using the root note. Usually bass players are playing the root note. And that, like I said, the purpose of the root note, it establishes the chord. It gives a feeling that the chord should be there. But if we want to add an interesting element to our music, basically changing the way that the bass note is relating to the chord. So a bass note, so basically a root note is always a bass note, but a bass note is not always a root note, if that makes sense. So that means that we can use either the root or the third or the fifth, or really any note can be the bass note. But what I'm going to be talking about is how to, we're still going to be using the chord tones, the root, third, or fifth. But what I want to do is talk about how to go beyond using the root and how to use the third and fifth. You can still be coloring in the lines and staying safe with your harmony, but it's going to be a little bit more interesting, and there's going to be movement happening in the bass. So just now I was playing a C, an F, and a G. C, C, F, F, G, 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 G. These are all different Gs. But we're going to just break this down a little bit and simplify. So say you are playing the top 3 strings of an A-shape C chord. And then we're going to do a D-shape F chord. And then we're going to do an E-shape G chord. So most people would just figure out how to play the bar chord and just play, you know, the root note of each chord. what we want to do is figure out in some way to make this a little bit simpler and look at what are some of the notes that we have around us. So we've got a C chord. Now with the first chord, I do like to start with a root note because the root note is more solid. And it's a good note to start on to establish that the song it's like the beginning of a chord progression. But let's check out this next chord. So this is part of the F chord, but we don't need to play all that stuff, and we're just going to look for a root note or a bass note that's accessible to us. So the F chord is F A C, F A C. Now probably don't want to play a C because we just played that note. And the F, it's way over here. We can't reach it. There's one right here that we can reach. There's also one here we can reach. But I want to think outside the box a little bit, and we have an A note that's open to us. Always use open strings if you can. And guess what? A happens to be the third of F. So I want to show you this here. So I think that sounds cool, and I think it works, okay? And it's kind of cool because this note here goes up, and then the C goes down, okay? C with the root in the bass, and then now we have a third in the bass while we're playing F, and then here's a G, our G chord. We're just going to use these bottom three strings. This is the E shape of G. And we're going to play D in the bass. And the D is the fifth of G. And it's an open note, so I like to take advantage of that. So C, A, D, the fifth. I think this is a little bit more creative, and it's not as expected. It sounds a little bit more original than if you were to play this, you know. Now, there's nothing wrong with what I just played, playing the roots, but I feel like that's what people expect, and if you play that way, you're just going to sound like everyone else, which there's not a problem with that. But what I want to do is kind of open up this idea of how you can use different bass notes for the same chord progression and really add variety to it. Because if you've got a song the whole time, it's like you don't want to just be playing, like you could have a song that has the same three chords the whole song, and that's great, but it is going to become kind of repetitive if you don't add something else to happen to it. So adding this these different bass notes is a way to kind of create like a harmonic dynamic. Even if you have a part where you are playing chords, if you alternate between playing chords and then adding in this alternate bass thing, it's going to sound like there's different parts of the song that you're alternating between. So this is an important kind of idea, the idea of like repetition and variety in music. I think a good piece of music has both of those things. The repetition helps to establish the idea, whereas the variety makes it feel like it's alive and it's evolving, it's growing, it's changing. It keeps the interest alive in the music by having multiple different parts that it's changing between. Now, keep in mind, if we have too much variety, like say you just played like 100 different chords in a row, it's going to not sound established as a song. It's just going to sound like this linear evolving thing. So an example of how we combine repetition and variety is we're playing the same chord progression, but then we're coming up with new ways, different ways to play those chords. So we're going to keep building on this idea of how we can take this same chord progression and add bass notes into it and evolve it as an idea. Okay, so far this is what we did. C, and this is got the root note, and then we've got A in the bass as we're playing this F note, and then we got D in the bass as we're playing part of a G chord, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing again, except this time we're going to change that G chord. We're going to go higher, okay? So this is our G note, but we're going to, and this is based off an E shape, but this time this is a D shape G chord, so it's like D, E, F, G. And we're going to do everything the same, except we're going to go up here the second time through. So C, third in the bass while we're playing F, fifth in the bass while we're playing a G, so we're playing a D in the bass. Back to that C, and then this time we're going to change it. And that is, it's just an alternate of that. So this is also a G. And then instead of going back to our C, we've got another C right here. It's the same notes, but it's on the 8th fret using the E shape instead of the A shape of C. So okay, so this is a C shape. Now from here, so whenever we are on a E shape bar chord and we go down to the A shape, that's a fourth because the guitar is tuned in fourth. So if you're on an E chord and you go to an A chord, that's a fourth. If you're on a G chord and you go to a C chord, that's a fourth. If you're on a C chord and you go down to an F chord, that's a fourth. So whatever chord, if the root is directly underneath the chord that you're playing, it's a fourth. Okay, so from here, C, this is an E shaped C. So check this out, this is cool. So we're going from C, and then look, there's an F right underneath, F bar chord. And this time, it's actually really convenient to play a root. So let's do it. And then we just move the whole thing up to get a G chord in the A shape. Okay, whenever you got a 4 chord, just move it up a whole step to get a 5 chord. Let's see if this fits in. So. C, F, back to C. So I'm just hitting not just the second and third or the third and fourth, but the first two. Now this is pretty simple. I mean, this is kind of what I said not to do earlier, but when you're playing the E and the A shape, it's all right there, so you might as well use it. Also, I noticed, so like if we're playing a C, and then if we were to keep that open note A, I feel like the A is too low and this F inversion, these notes are a little bit too high, that it just doesn't jive as well to me. You got to have but that's just my ear. So anything can be anything if you can make it sound good. But to me, it doesn't sound good, so that's the choice I'm making here. But I just want to show you my thought process of why I'm doing that. And plus, it's just so convenient. The F is already right there. Now, I could just go back to the G right here, and I kind of like that because it's using the fifth, and which is this kind of idea that we're on instead of going up here. So C, F, G with a D in the bass. So this time I used all the strings, 3, 2, 1 of the D shape on the G chord. So, D, E, F, G. So I used that high one. I think that's a cool sounding chord. You can use that any time. So, and then back to the C. Now, this is kind of a cool thing. Right now, I'm focused on the fourth and the third string. So as opposed to here, the third and second string. Now this is going to open up some doors for us that we couldn't do a second ago. So I'm on my C chord. I'm going to go to F. But this time, I'm going to so when I'm playing my this is my F chord. So like, it's like when you got your C, let's see, your C chord, you bar it up and it's a D chord, E, and then F. So I'm going to be using the fourth and third string of the F chord while I'm playing an A bass note. It sounds like this. Oops. That just sounds really cool, I think. And now I'm back to G using the E shape. And for some reason, I just want to go down and hit that F chord again. I think that sounds cool. So kind of a song is emerging out of this, or a musical idea that I didn't hear earlier because I'm using these different shapes. So let's hear it again. So it's like... Oops. So I got my C, I got my F, where I'm playing an A in the bass, and then it's a G, and then it's an F, with an F in the bass. Okay, so something's happened here. Even though I'm playing an F chord, these notes are actually also in the A minor chord. It's as if I'm playing this chord, E minor, bar shape on the 5th fret, A minor, but I'm only hitting the 4th string and the 3rd string. So there's nothing here to indicate that it's not an A minor. If I had this note in here, it would be that F with an A in the bass, but since I'm only hitting the 4th and 3rd string, it sounds like it's an A minor. So that really changed the vibe of the song. So this could be something that you throw in to alternate. So So originally it was just, and then it turned into this on the way down. And then I heard an F there. So using these bass notes has kind of started to influence the direction or the composition of this musical piece. And you can see how this is just a window into my musical thought process. So everything about that to me sounded very natural. I'm just going between inversions that are close to each other, and then I'm choosing bass notes that, you know, I'm starting with the root note, but then experimenting with playing the fifth or the third and seeing if it works, seeing if it sounds good, and then seeing how that interacts with the chord and sometimes changes the feeling of the chord. And overall, it has an impact on where the songwriting process goes. So I hope this was interesting to you, that it made you think of something that you hadn't thought of before. Man, there's something else I was going to add here, but I can't think of it right now. So I do teach guitar online, so if you're interested and you want to take some lessons, hit me up. I post a lot of other videos here. So, all right, yeah, stay tuned for future videos.